1 day equals 1 year. That's pretty common knowledge, but 1 hour, 1 real world hour gives you 15 days in the time chamber. 1 minute gives you 6 hours in the time chamber, and 1 second in the real world gives you 6 minutes in the time chamber. So it's a crazy place, and I've always wondered this about the time chamber. What happens if you keep walking forward? There doesn't seem to be any barriers or any invisible walls that prevent you from going forward. What would happen if you open the door and you keep walking forward? Would you eventually circle back around? Do you stumble across another door eventually? What would you find? Because this is a whole other dimension. Is there any life in this dimension? In the Majin Buu saga, Piccolo destroyed the only exit to the door. After seeing Gotenks struggle with Super Buu, he thought in his mind, the only way to save the universe would be to trap everyone in here for the rest of their lives. And it kind of worked for a little bit. When Majin Buu saw this and he found out he was going to be stuck in this place forever, this infinite white void, he went insane and he screamed a hole in dimensions back to the real world. Shortly after, Gotenks did the same thing and they were able to get back to the real world. So it goes to show, if you're powerful enough, you can rip a hole in the dimension between the time chamber and reality. Now, up until this point, the time chamber was completely destroyed. No one was able to use it, no one was able to go in or out, pretty much thanks to Piccolo. But by the time DBS comes around, Dende has actually fixed the time chamber, so before the Universe 6 and 7 tournament starts, Goku and Vegeta go in there to train for the first time in Super Saiyan Blue form, and this is where we see them with their beards. They were only in there for a few hours, but they come out with these fully grown beards, and even still, continuing on through the story of Dragon Ball Super, the main guy who uses the time chamber from now on, it's gonna be Vegeta. During the Goku Black Saga, Vegeta blew up the hyperbolic time chamber, and I always wondered why he did this. Why would he blow it up on purpose? Was it just to look cool? I don't think so. Because Vegeta has been in the time chamber more than 2 times, the door permanently shuts. So just like Buu and Gotenks, he would have been stuck in there, and the only way for him to get out is to unleash his power and rip a hole in the dimension. But because of how insanely powerful Vegeta's gotten, he didn't just rip a tiny hole in the dimension, he completely destroyed it. The dimension is now blown up because of Vegeta's raw power, and that's probably why he blew up the time chamber, because there was no other way to get out. In fact, he does it again. Mr. Popo directly tells Vegeta and he says, if you destroy this time chamber again, you will be banned. That's what Mr. Popo says to Vegeta. And Vegeta blows it up anyway. You'd think that you'd gotta respect Mr. Popo. If he's telling you to do something, you'd probably want to back off and probably do it. But right before the Tournament of Power, Vegeta blows it up once again, and since then, he has never been back to train in the hyperbolic time chamber. In fact, right now, he's training on Yardrat. However, that is not where it ends. Mirrors, the guy who's training Goku in Ultra Instinct, has some kind of portable room of spirit and time. It's nowhere near as powerful as the one on Earth. It's basically the same dimension, and not much is known about it at the moment. The metrics for this time chamber is 1 day equals 3 days in the room, so it's nowhere near as powerful, but there is a second door somewhere to this majestic dimension. So the whole idea of the hyperbolic time chamber could be completely flipped on its head. Because there are now multiple versions of this dimension, you could really scale this up to however large you wanted it to be. Imagine a man stumbling his whole life, walking around the time chamber just looking for a way out, and then he finds an exit. That is the hyperbolic time chamber and everything to do with it recently. Why Vegeta had to blow it up? It's because he had no choice. There was nowhere else for him to go. He was a man who at that point didn't train with others, and so he trained alone in the depths of the time chamber. Now Vegeta's evolved to train with other people besides Whis, and you see him meditating with the Yardrat. So for him, he doesn't need the time chamber anymore. Let me know what you think. I want to thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next Dragon Ball video.